Did you ever wonder if there was something more? Do you remember your dreams from childhood? Like most of us, were your dreams crushed with a reality that didn't match the magic and wonder of childhood? Or did you really never experience magic and wonder because of where you were born and what situation you were born into? This podcast is going to explore how our dreams, known or unexplored, are the key to creating a new vision for the world, and how young people today are the key to manifesting it. Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of Building Dreams for the Future with Youth. I am very honored to have Quinn Coleman, a senior at Brown University, here with me today. I met Quinn a year and a few months ago when he first applied to our first program that we did with Brown, called the internship program that Brown University funds some students to come work with alumni in really interesting projects. And I'm so delighted that you came back to work with us a second year, Quinn, and that you're a guest on my podcast today. I'm excited to give all of you more of a voice so the world can be inspired by you and the way you think, which is really what we all need to hear more of in the world. So I asked Quinn to choose a quote by Martin Luther King, and Quinn is going to talk about that quote and what it means to him. So welcome, Quinn, to our show.
Hello. Well, the quote that I chose is by Martin Luther King. It is, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." And so I chose this quote because I've had a pretty interesting relationship with faith throughout my life. I grew up pretty religious, or at least I went to religious schools. I went to Catholic school growing up. And so I always associated faith with just being like, oh, do you believe in God or do you not believe in God? And so over the years, I've come to realize that faith is so much more than that, and it can have so many, really practical applications in life. And I chose this quote because I found that having faith is the only way for me to gain confidence around things and in doing things. Because I often get really scared and anxious when I am faced with something new. And so faith being that first step and taking that first step has been what has allowed me to expand my mind and try new things. Whereas before I didn't have as much faith and was anxious and would, isolate. And now I feel myself, taking that first step, even though I don't see the whole staircase.
That's amazing. That's really important because I think many young people right now struggle with some anxiety, not only, not just you, many young people have this, and that just having faith to take the first step and not knowing something sounds like a way that you have found to break out of that and break that anxiety. It doesn't mean that these things don't still come up for all of us. I still have those moments, but just get moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
To remove that inertia. That is really valuable for people. And I think that sometimes you don't have to know exactly where you're going, right? That's what this means.
Yeah, for sure. I think that not knowing like set me back for a really long time. And so I think I basically had an experience where I was really anxious I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember there being a point where I was really anxious to do something, but it was something I really wanted to do. And so, like I said, I took that first step and it paid off. And it's like once you take a chance on faith once, like taking it again makes it even easier and easier. And that's kind of how,
Easier and easier.
yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
how anxiety is treated. So I just thought that was such a perfect, you know, thing to take forward.
Beautiful, beautiful. And yeah, and the fact that you mentioned the thing that you really wanted to do, right? A lot of young people maybe don't know what they want to do, to even know what direction to take that step. What would you say to another young person who maybe doesn't even know what is motivating them? What would you tell them to try to take the first step?
I think I think that's something I definitely struggle with. I get overwhelmed really easily because I there's so many things at all times that I want to try, and so I get really overwhelmed, and then I like can't pick anything. And so what I found to be helpful in those scenarios is to set goals. And what I mean by setting goals is basically come up with a way you would like to be in the future and set small goals to accomplish that. And so that sort of allows you to visit and do a lot of what you want to do with an end goal in mind. Because I think a lot of my apprehension when it comes to trying new things, when I don't know exactly what I want to do, is this going to be a waste of my time? Am I going to fail at this? Am I going to this going to
Mhm.
distract from other things? Um,
Yeah, that wonderful voice that loves to
yeah,
tell us all these things that
exactly.
are right. Yeah, and we have to constantly say no.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a chance on fate, on faith. Sorry.
Have faith in yourself, right? That you're
Yes.
going to lead, right? And lead you're going to find it.
Hmm.
Everyone, I believe everyone's here has a gift. Everyone's here for a reason right now. And so just discovering what that
Hmm.
is fun. It can be really fun. I
It
think,
really can.
yeah. Unless I guess unless it's what I'm hearing, a lot of young people are struggling because of this recipe that's been kind of laid out for them,
Yep.
that doesn't seem to be serving the world necessarily.
Yeah.
This whole, cookie cutter way of living in our society here in the US at least. Uh, that have you seen that,
For sure.
young people
Um,
thinking about that?
yeah, I think I've definitely seen that and I've been definitely affected by that. I think being at a university, it's so easy to be around a bunch of other successful people and like see what they have going on for themselves and to sort of put yourself down in a way. Um, like because you think that you don't fit into that cookie cutter um lifestyle. But honestly, I think what I found most helpful for that has been not necessarily isolation, but sort of finding interests on your own and not necessarily relying on the people you're close to suggest and give you things that you might be interested in. I've found a lot of value as of late in like developing a lot of my identity, but like on my own.
Yeah, and then I found that, when I work with young people in the programs that we've been doing, is that we actually have an improv game we do on how to overcome dream crushers, which it sounds like you're kind of intuitively embracing. I don't think we ever played that game with you in the program, but it was is like believing in yourself is the strongest protection, and believing in your own vision and what you want to do is the best protection and against people who are telling you you can't do something. And most adults in the room laugh when I say who's been dream crushed. Everybody raises their hands because everyone, and that leads to my next question, was when we're younger we have a lot of aspirations and dreams, and then at some point, somebody tells us we can't do that thing because it's not going to make money, or it's not going to do this, or they don't think that that path is going to be good for you. And a lot of times they think they're meaning well, right? Dream crushers, we can have compassion. So I tell the young people, like, you can have compassion for these people. They think they're helping you, or maybe they didn't actually go after their dreams, right? So let's have compassion for the dream crushers and bring them along to our vision by believing in our own vision so much. And that's the best way to overcome. And it actually leaps beyond divisiveness and just more understanding of each other.
Sure. Yeah, I haven't thought about it like that before. Um,
But you
I think,
intuitively knew it by saying that.
yeah, I guess I did. Um, I think honestly, as of late, I've been going through it, as I'm sure we all are, but what has been the most effective in pushing me forward and, giving me hope has been faith. And like a lot of times it is blind faith. A lot of times you kind of just have to hope for the best and like assume that'll be the best. Um, but it really is effective. I think it's worth emphasizing like how much of an impact just, one day choosing to believe you can do something can, start like a start you on an incline to do so much better in the future. Um, yeah,
It
it
could
like
be like instantly transformational. And the moment you
right.
just choose to believe in yourself, you
Hmm.
can see the world differently, right? I found that
Exactly.
too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. That is really helpful. I hope our listeners are really being inspired and take that to heart when they're young, the young people in their life or young people listening. Finding your passion is a lot of people around you will stop bugging you if you're clear about what you want to do, right? And they're just trying to help. And so I want to ask you the signature question of this podcast. What did you dream about when you were around 8 years old, that has had some impact on your path?
Yeah. So when I was around 8 years old, I can remember one day waking up and my thoughts were just like racing, and it didn't feel like a bad thing because most of those thoughts were super creative. I was always super creative as a kid. I went to elementary school and a Waldorf school, so I was always, doing handwork, I was drawing, I was coloring. I was in a really creative environment, and so it felt like the world was at my fingertips, and so it also felt like I could do anything I wanted, which was great. But at the same time, I also wanted to do everything, which isn't bad necessarily, but it did make narrowing down what I wanted to do just that much harder. But like I said, it was really effective for me to just try things. Like I remember one of my big dreams when I was a kid was to be a chef. And so I went from I started MasterChef and then I started watching MasterChef Junior, which is the show with the kids. And
Uh-huh.
so after that I started cooking every night, and I just, I would the recipes would get more and more and more complex until I was making macaron like daily. Um, but yeah,
I bet
that's
your
sort of
family was happy about that. I would be
yeah,
very happy if one of my kids was practicing cooking every night.
yeah. No, and it was good. I was good. Like I can fully admit that I was actually really good at cooking. But what I will say is I was dream crushed by that, or from trying to be a chef. My mom was kind of like, she said, I was cooking one night and I think I was getting in her way, and she was like, "You're not going to be one of the kids on MasterChef." And so that kind of, pushed that dream to the side. And so I think now I'm much more able to see that I enjoy something, that I have a passion in something, and not let people, dream crush me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. 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 Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, some little things people say can either put us on the right path or go a little off, and maybe you'll come back to it
Mhm.
someday. But I think cooking and being a chef is just I love that as a metaphor for a young person who wanted to try everything, because you have to, cooking is many different ingredients
Exactly.
trying to get them to work together in
Hmm.
harmony, right?
Right.
So I think what a beautiful palette or canvas in a way for
Yeah.
you to experiment as a young person, which has I'm sure that had led to your successful career. I mean, you got into Brown. Uh, and I want to ask you a question. Were you a senior in high school when COVID hit? Was that
No,
around
I
when?
was it was the end of my freshman year at Brown.
Okay. I want to ask, and I know this is the conclusion, but it's just so important to me to know, what was it like, going, you are at the top of your game, you get into
Mhm.
this amazing school, you get there, and then all of a sudden shut down. What was it like being a freshman, sophomore in college during COVID for you?
It was it was a lot. I think freshman year, honestly, it was close to the end of the year, so I wasn't too upset about going home. It was more how everything was really fun, and then it was silence, like it was immediately like everyone went home, like people weren't seeing each other in public. And so that was really, I think, the worst part was just like how disconnected everyone became, and um how a lot of my friendships sort of suffered as a consequence
Yeah.
of that, just from the, separation. Um, but I came back for my sophomore year, and so during my sophomore year, I was on campus. There weren't many people on campus, at least the first semester. Um, and so it was strange, but I feel like I developed somewhat of like a community at Brown, like over the COVID semester, which is that fall semester. Um, and it was unexpected, but I don't think I would have met those people otherwise. So I guess that's one
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. There's a closer
Mhm.
community. You find, uh, well, I asked that just because I've found that a lot of young people, after COVID are still experiencing some of the effects of
For
that
sure.
isolation
Yeah.
on
And that's
their just ability to feel, like the anxiety, like we were talking
right.
about, the ability to take that faith and to take that step seems even harder for some after COVID because they're so used to just not doing stuff, right?
Mhm. Right. Right. That's exactly how it feels. Like it's even hard for me to go outside a lot of times just because I was so used to being inside and I got so
Still, right
comfortable.
now,
Yeah.
now,
Even so, COVID definitely had a pretty adverse effect on my ability to put myself out there physically, you know, and in many different ways. Like you were saying about anxiety. Um, but I do think like I said, met people that I don't think I would have otherwise. So a little bit of a
beautiful.
positive spin.
Yeah, positive spin. Well, no, we're going to close the podcast with my question I like to ask is, you have a platform and you have a voice that represents yourself and other young people that that you can tap into and say something to a global audience that maybe doesn't know something about what your generation is struggling with, or what your generation is inspired by. How can we support you more, all of you, with both that, what happened after COVID, having a hard time getting out there even though you want to, or anything that we've talked about? How can the world, the adults of the world, help the youth more?
So I guess to answer this question, I will bring up something that I'm pretty passionate about, which is period equity, and increasing access to menstrual hygiene products for people that need them. And so something that I have done in the past was basically lobby for the Department of Education in DC to mandate schools in the US to provide free menstrual hygiene products in bathrooms for, I think it's grade 6 or 5 up through high school. And so if there was just more access to menstrual hygiene products because they are taxed in a lot of states still, I think that would be a win for our generation. One, because more access, and two, because more visibility increases or decreases the stigma around periods.
I'm so fascinated. I love that you worked on this. What inspired you to work on this as a male?
Yeah.
And you
So
identify as
yeah.
he, him.
Yep. So I actually was at a global health conference, I think my sophomore year of high school, and I was a part of a club, or I'd started a club that was basically had to do with eye care and this eye clinic in Ghana. I was interested, but I wasn't super interested because I didn't feel like I wasn't really a part of the cause. And so I went to this global health conference and I met this person who had started this organization called Period, which was basically the first time I had really gotten to know what a period was. And I was like, if I don't know what a period is, and I'm at this like global health conference at Harvard, like there's so many more people out there who don't. And she was
Yeah.
explaining just how, detrimental that is. In developing countries, it's ridiculous.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I
And
mean, they
then,
can't even go to school in many
yeah,
places. I mean,
it's
yeah.
right. And so, like, I was hearing about, the menstruation huts and things like that. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's only, abroad. And then she started bringing it back to the US and like how people were missing school here because they had their period or they don't have access, so they're using unsafe materials. And so that's what got me passionate about it because it just felt like something that was like right under my nose and I didn't even know what a period was. And so I felt like I could make an impact, especially as a guy.
That's huge. It is really to be a leader in that and to champion that. I wish it wasn't so unique. I wish it was just a everyday thing
Yeah,
that men were
exactly.
advocating, but it just takes one and a small
Right.
group of people to start it off. So
Exactly.
I love that. Are you going to continue working in that area, do you think? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So me and two other friends here at Brown, we started our student group called Period Equity at Brown. And so we are just finishing up a drive where we have raised a ton of money where we purchase products and we also collect them, and then we distribute them to three different shelters in the Providence area. So that's a big pillar of ours is, increasing access to menstrual hygiene products. And then another big piece is education, which is effective in getting rid of the stigma. It's posting on social media how the stigma is detrimental. It is posting on social media where you can find menstrual hygiene products across campus. It's things like that that get rid of the stigma. And so I am excited to, go into the semester and do that again.
that's amazing. That is amazing. Real world impact in Providence while you're going to school, advocating for women and period equity. And I'll leave you with this statistic that when I was going to a lot of the United Nations, I've been going to a lot of these events around achieving the sustainable development goals. And I have a feeling this is going to give you another aha moment that might give you more fuel for this work, which is that the organizers of many different conferences who are trying to understand if we were to just focus on one of the sustainable development goals that could potentially solve all of them, which one would it be? And they did the research to show that if all we focused on was SDG 5, gender equality,
Mm-hmm.
all the other SDGs would be
Iron
solved.
themselves out. Huh. That's really interesting.
Think about it. If you had
Yeah.
if you had gender equality in every aspect of
Mhm.
society,
It would just iron out all those other issues.
yeah,
Huh.
because you'd have like we need balance, right? We're
Mhm.
not advocating for all women leading everything either,
Mhm.
right? We need balance. We need
Right.
different energies, right?
Mhm.
And so we have different perspectives when there's equity in leadership,
Mhm.
and women have traits that are inclusive that balance out. There's different traits of both all the different genders, all 16 of them or more have uh, different ways to celebrate.
Right.
And yeah, so I thought that was an interesting fact
Oh,
to
that's
leave
super
the viewers
interesting.
with,
Yeah.
and also you.
Yeah. Super interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, Quinn, I am so delighted to have had you here. I look forward to continuing our relationship in our DAO and Island 17 and Dream Tank. I hope to continue supporting you and championing you through your career. You're a senior, so people listening, reach out to Quinn, hire
Yeah,
this
please.
amazing young man if we don't first. And I look forward to seeing what your dreams reveal next, Quinn. And I hope you have a wonderful day and a fantastic last semester at Brown.
Thank you so much.